Hey friends, it's Shauna from With Love from vinyl.etsy.com. I am doing a quick video on these wine tumblers we've been working on. Now I have 4 still that need to be dry brushed and everything that I saved so that I could either do them live or do the video on them from start to finish. But I figured I would go ahead with these 4 just to get them on the turner. And so these have already been dry brushed and we're adding the first layer of epoxy. So this is the epoxy that I use. It's already been mixed. I know a lot of people will tell you to mix it really, really slow so you don't get any air bubbles. I don't know if you can see. I have air bubbles in mine. I don't mix it as slow as I should. And instead, at the end, after I add it onto the cup and I let it sit for a few minutes, I hit it with a heat gun and I get all of the bubbles out at that point. So I'm not telling you don't mix it slow. I'm just saying figure out what works for you and do it that way. I am an impatient person, so I stir way faster than I should, and that is just the way that it is. So I'm going to put that over there. You guys have seen, if I can find it, I was going to use my silicone brush. Oh, there it is. You guys have seen the silicone brush that I use. I can link it to Amazon. You can either use a gloved finger or a silicone brush. I use both depending on the mood that I'm in. And for the first coat, it's going to take a little bit more epoxy than a second or third coat will, because it's getting into in between all of the little granules of glitter. I always try to mix more than I need, but I couldn't tell you how much that is, if that makes any sense. I don't measure the no. I measure the epoxy, but I don't particularly know. Like if you were to ask me how much epoxy will I use for a 20-ounce tumbler, that question I don't know. I try to mix more than I'll need. If I run out or if I didn't mix enough, I will mix more. I don't stress over stuff like that. I try to have more than 1 cup ready to epoxy at a time, but that's just because I have a 4-cup turner. So if I'm going to have the arms moving, why not have them full? So as I'm globbing it on right now, I'm just trying to make sure I've got coverage everywhere. I also work really messy. I mean, that's life. Life is messy, so I don't stress out over making sure I don't drip. I just try to make sure that if I'm going to drip, it's going to be onto a surface that I can either throw away or clean up. Once I get coverage completely around the cup, then I'll start smoothing it out and taking off any excess, leveling it out, that kind of thing. Most of the epoxy is self-leveling, but I want to make sure I didn't miss any spots and I don't have too thick of a coat on, because if you put too thick of a coat, your cup, the thicker the epoxy, the heavier the cup. And it helps that I am doing all the same color tumblers today, so I don't have to stress out over glitter being mixed. When I do different colored glitters at the same time, I will do lightest to darkest. I'll start with the lightest colored cups. Move to the darkest color cups so that if we do get glitter mixing together, it is not a huge deal. Today is not a big deal at all because it's all the same color glitter. Okay, ooh, making a big old mess. So I've got glitter all over the cup now. I'm just smoothing it out, making sure I've got the coverage at the rim and not too much at the bottom, and that I didn't miss anywhere. And then we'll move on to the next cup. These are the same silicone brushes that I use when I apply my water slide. There's the silicone, like when I wash them with Dawn dish soap and denatured alcohol. I'll be honest, I used this particular, I have multiples, I used this particular one last with epoxy and I did not wash it after. The cool thing about silicone is if you let it dry on there, let me make sure I'm still on, you can just take this part after it's hardened and bend it back and forth, and the epoxy will literally peel off of the silicone brush. So no stress. If you get distracted or if you don't feel like washing it, no stress. So that one's good. Looks like you're still, oops, I kicked you. Looks like you're still in the frame for this one, so I'm just going to move on over. Same thing, you're just taking the epoxy out, slathering it on. This is the first coat of epoxy. After this coat, I will do nothing. I don't, nope, that's a lie. Last time I did the cups, I actually put a water slide decal on after the first coat of epoxy just to see how it did, and it actually worked out quite nice. So we'll see how I feel. I'll either do nothing and just apply the next coat of epoxy, or I'll add the water slide decal, but I don't do any sanding after the first coat of epoxy. So if this ends up being rough or having any imperfections in it, we will not add the water slide. We'll just add the next coat of epoxy and then add the water slide after the second coat of epoxy. It just depends on how smooth these ones turn out. I'm trying to stay out of your way, but I like to hold this a little bit steady, so I apologize if my arm's in the way. And I want to make sure that we get this edge completely covered with epoxy there at the top. I heat my epoxy before I use it, so you'll see it's really runny. Sometimes it's runnier than others. It depends on how long I've heated it for. You don't have to heat it. Some people do, some people don't. I've found for me personally, when I heat it, I end up with a little bit smoother of a finish. Like it's a feel in the epoxy itself. Kind of like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's more glass-like. That's it. So when I do wine tumblers, because I didn't tape anything off, let me make sure you're still recording. I'm running out. Yesterday I recorded all of my kids' songs at their performance. I'm running out of space. But what was I saying? Oh, my brain. Oh, I don't tape anything off. So I usually save the bottom of the cup for last, so that I don't end up with too much epoxy at the bottom and end up with little bumps and stuff that'll make your cup sit unlevel. Okay. We're going to move you over. Bear with me on the roller coaster ride. Ignore the mess. I don't even know what cups you're looking at right now. Not the right ones. Holy smokes, mastacholi. You guys, oh my goodness, see? Hot Mess Express. There we go. Whew, that was an adventure. And still going. Okay, there we go. Hi. Sorry about that. Whew, there we go. Alright, I promise, no more moving. Same thing on this side. Although I have to move my cup turner. Give me a second. Let me push. Okay. I don't want my epoxy dripping onto the floor. So we're just smoothing it on. I'm sorry if my hand's in the way. I'm trying to move quickly because my epoxy's been sitting for a minute and I don't want it to start curing before it's on the cup. That would be terrible. So trying to move a little bit faster. I get a little bit messier.